I don't need people around me stifling me. So if you don't like it, there's the door.
Are you saying you don't need us no more?
Not unless you can open your mind.
Today we are ranking the albums of Obscura, starting with Retribution in 2006. Now, I've loved pretty much every album from this German technical progressive death metal band. That said, they clearly hadn't quite hit their stride yet with this one. Another pretty meat and potatoes debut without the best hallmarks they are known for, which again I would say is the case for a lot of these groups, like Rivers of Nile, like Legion. It's also their lowest fan-rated album on Metal Storm at a 7.4, but it has some interesting twists here and there with the vocals, and again hints at the more progressive approach that they would take. I do like None Shall Be Spared, Exit Life, and the very death-influenced Hate Anthem. Really rough mix on this album too, super muddled, but it is very heavy. Like, it's definitely probably their heaviest album, so I'll give it that, and it's far from bad. I wouldn't even put it at okay tier. I'm gonna put it at good. Next up is Cosmogenesis in 2009. Hans Grossman joining on drums, who has played on everything from Necrophagist and Alkaloid to Hate Eternal and Triptychon, big fan of his. And while this is a major leap in the right direction and seemingly a fan favorite, I personally think that they still have better albums than this one. No denying though that the performances here are insane across the board, particularly the bass, and there are some really great standout songs like Desolate Spheres, the once more very death-coded Incarnated, Infinite Rotation, and even the instrumental Orbital Elements. But I still think that overall my engagement is a little hit and miss in comparison to something like Necrophagist or Atheist even. Lots of more meandering and, in my opinion, kind of directionless feeling moments, especially the closer, and I'm also not in love with the production or the vocal performance on this one either. I have a feeling that is going to be another case of where some of you are already furiously raging in the comments now, but it's just my opinion as always, and I stand by it.
This must be Pearl, the record keeper.
I'm going to put this one at great tier. As always, put your own rankings down in the comments. I'm curious to hear, where do we agree, where do we disagree? Also, if you're enjoying the video, hit the like button. But moving on, we have Omnivium in 2011. This album is based on Friedrich Schelling's Clara, or On Nature's Connection to the Spirit World. And I feel that this is where the band really hits their stride, with even tighter performances now molded into more memorable and focused compositions. Killer opener and best song so far, if you ask me, and Septuagint. Not sure if I'm even pronouncing that right, but it is an awesome track. Definitely hearing more Swedish melodeath influences seeping into some of the riffs, and I dig the use of acoustic as well. Followed by a return to the vastly technical and further stepped up Vortex Omnivium, both impressive and infectious. And continuing that mission statement of great dynamics and pacing, moving into the swampy, doomy groove of Ocean Gateways. And speaking of acoustic, this recurs throughout the album, often with some very Opeth-coded results, sometimes complete with clean singing, as with the all-around exemplary Prismal Dawn. But on the pure tech side, there's also some serious electric guitar work and bass work here as well. Most notably, some truly wicked soloing on Euclidean Elements, Celestial Spheres, Velocity, and especially the mostly instrumental A Transcendental Serenade. Incredible album, must listen in the discography. I am putting it at perfection. We followed that up with Akróasis in 2016. First big lineup shakeup with everyone but frontman Stefan Kumera replaced, and not quite as strong a start with Sermon of the Seven Sons in my opinion, but that transition around 2 minutes and 34 seconds is awesome, really kicking it into high gear. Getting quite progressive with more great emphasis of the bass guitar, now with Linus on the more plodding Monotheist. Getting quite progressive with more great emphasis of the bass guitar, now from Linus on the plodding The Monist. This notably comes a year in the wake of his excellent work with Alkaloid on the Malkuth Grimoire, noir, and I hear some similar energy coming through on this one. And honestly, I'd say that in general, this album has more of an emphasis on the progressive as opposed to the speed and technicality of the previous albums, as further demonstrated by the title track. There are still some glimmers of more showboaty moments though, as with the guitar work on 10 Sephiroth. My personal favorite on this one though is Ode to the Sun, very dynamic track from the infectious opening War March, complete with the clank of steel to the more contemplative elements towards the end. On the faster side, I also like Fractal Dimension, some awesome spirally guitar work on that one. Perpetual Infinity is also a headbanger. Overall, I don't like this one as much as the last one front to back, but it still represents another great evolutionary step for their music and is littered with fantastic moments, so it is going to fantastic. Next up is Diluvium in 2018. In the 2 years since the last album, various members had once again been involved in multiple other noteworthy albums, and I can hear that honed craft once more coming through on this one. Each of them pours their heart and soul into these performances, and I feel like this is a better harnessing overall of the progressive directions of the previous album into tighter, more memorable tracks. The variation, shifting movements, and multi-textured arrangements are equal parts complex and endlessly engaging. Another case where every song is excellent, awesome opener and clandestine stars with more relentless hooks, mixing melodeath and tech death in perfect unity. Fun use of vocoder vocals as well. More incredible riffing, soloing, atmosphere, and rhythm changes on Emergent Evolution. Sick title track, killer groove to Mortification of the Vulgar Sun. Ethereal Skies rules with that non-stop riffing backed by the very Rush-inspired sounding drums and stellar drumming on Akróasis. Maybe one of their best closers too, with the head bob and stomp of an epilogue to infinity, eventually building into more epic directions. Another incredible album. This one's also going to perfection. They followed that up with a Valediction in 2021. Now, at this point, the band had already toyed with plenty of that classic Gothenburg melodeath energy, but here it feels like they set out to make that the focus of the album. And as a huge fan of that sound, I loved their particular techie fusion here right from the top with the harmonized leads of Forsaken, followed by more dueling insanity on Solaris and the title track. Other personal standouts in Unity and When Stars Collide, the latter sounding like something off of Horacle, but with At the Gates vocals, and then even further in we actually get some cleans from none other than Bjorn Speed Strid of Soilwork. So much variety over the course of this album, with everything from Devoured Usurper getting extra brutal and groovy in the vein of Morbid Angels Where the Slime Lives, to what sounds like a straight-up Megadeth solo bite on the instrumental Orbital Elements 2. More hook-filled bangers in Beyond, the Neuromancer, and especially in Adversity, even throwing in a little metalcore energy. Another great closer, too. Some I knew were turned off by the direction of this record, but again, I thought it was sick, and most people that I talked to, at least, seem to feel the same way as me. I'm also putting this one at perfection. I really fought with putting 3 at the top, but man, I love all these records and for slightly different reasons, and I just couldn't think of which one is kind of lesser than the others. So yeah, there it is. And that brings us to A Sonication in 2025. Now again, I saw a lot of negative discussion in the lead up to this one, given another major lineup purge and even some controversy with former bassist Alex Weber accusing remaining member Stefan Kumera of stealing ideas that he had presented before his exit. Fair criticisms to be sure, but I'm always in the camp of letting the people involved handle these situations without my own blind speculation. At the end of the day, I wasn't there, so I don't actually know what's going on, and this isn't necessarily the avenue to discuss it. I want to talk about the music.
You stand for nothing.
That said, given some of the words I've seen from various people formerly involved with the band, it doesn't make Stefan look great, but it kind of is what it is. If you want to know more about that, there are plenty of other videos talking about that situation. There was also plenty of talk about some changes in sound with the release of related singles like Evenfall, but honestly, to me, this all just felt kind of like par for the course given Obscura's history, especially after that last album, and it's a solid track. Now, all of that said, most of the album is actually still on the faster and more technical side, with plenty of great songs in that vein, like Silver Linings, In Solitude, and The Prolonging. Also a big fan of Stardust and another mellow-deathy rager in The Sun Eater. Now, I agree with a lot of people that I'm not in love with the kind of thin and tinny production, but the songwriting and performances are just so consistently strong and engaging to me that they kind of make up for it, in my opinion. Good songs will often trump bad production for me, case in point As the Palaces Burn being one of my all-time favorite albums. So I'm open to hearing other reasons why people rate this album lower from a musical standpoint. Please do share those thoughts in the comments, but yeah, for me, definitely an unpopular opinion based on what I had to say about it in my Best of the Month video. I am putting this one at fantastic. Like, I really enjoyed it. Sue me.
It's the children who are wrong.
Y'all check out this playlist for more death metal rankings, including stuff like Allegiant, Rivers of Nile, and more. And check out this for your personal YouTube recommendation. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.